quiz time.
My favorite time.
Let's see how you did with last, well, it wasn't last week, it was the week before, the last show's questions.
My server went down, I'm busy.
Okay, well here's the first question was, what did the LTRO accomplish?
It accomplished what we've been hoping they would accomplish, at least for the banks, and it gave them a bunch of money that they could pay their bills with, so there's no risk that all the banks in Europe are going to go out of business in short order. They have a $500 billion.
Trying to stop a run on the banks.
Stop the run on the banks. That'll stop it for 3 years of the banks going out. This is not a solution for the governments. It just stops the banks from going under and cascading across the world in short order, in short time.
And the next one is, why is Greece coming to a head?
Well, because they owe 14 billion euros that they don't have, and nobody's going to lend it to them until they get their debt negotiated down with their creditors, and therefore by March 20th, if they don't have their money, they could have a hard default. So there's a set date, there are contracts involved that they have to comply with, and not everybody's budging. So when you have a contract, that's the day you've got to have your money, or otherwise you've got a really hard default.
And the third one is, why are inflation expectations important?
Well, because that impacts interest rates, and interest rates impact the entire economy. Remember, interest rates are partial expected inflation and partial real return. So expected inflation is very important, which is why the Federal Reserve is trying to massage people's inflation expectations and tell them we're holding it to 2%.
So we can plan.
That's right, because otherwise we might think inflation's getting out of hand, and if we do, well, that could impact interest rates beyond their control.
Yes, and the last one is, why should private equity firms exist?
Well, first, we're capitalists, darn it, so start acting like it. Without private property rights, which is private equity, equity is ownership. Without private property rights, we're either socialist or communist. So we're not either one of those. We've got private property rights. We can own a company, and if we can own a company, that company can hire and fire, and that's the best way we've found so far to run a country. So it's you know, in the best interest of everyone. It's in the best interest of everyone to have companies that do this. Although you're right, in some cases they can be quite not nice. That's the best way I can put it.
Okay. Well, what do you have for us this week?
Easy questions this week. First one is, where do you lead, where do you follow, and where do you get out of the way? If you think about those things in your own life, you might come up with some interesting conclusions. Second question is, how important is cash flow? How important is cash flow? Think about that going out the front of your windshield. The next question is, what is the problem with reading headlines? What is the problem with just reading the headlines? And the last question is, how do you combat spin machines? So the spin machine we will talk about in the next question in viewer mail, so stay tuned.